Well, let's get you more on this story. You can cross live to Odessa, where France 24's Gulliver Cragg is standing by for us. Gulliver, you heard then from President Zelensky there saying, look, we are ready and waiting from our side. What more can you tell us about whether any of those ships with grain on board have now departed?
No ship has yet departed. There has been the movement of one ship, which is supposed to be the first one to leave from the port of Chernomorsk, but it's just moved from one dock inside that port to another one closer to the harbour mouth. They have been loading more ships with grain, and of course there were already ships in these 3 Ukrainian ports in Odessa region that are part of this deal that were already loaded with grain and have been stuck there with their grain on board since late February. But as you said, they are still waiting for the final confirmation from the UN. But at the press conference in Odessa this morning, where several foreign ambassadors, including the US ambassador, were present, they said that basically, reading between the lines, it's waiting for the Russians to give that final security assurance and to say that it can go ahead. That's what all the Ukrainians I've spoken to are saying, is that they haven't yet got the final assurances from the Russians. And to be honest, most Ukrainians I've spoken to, whether it's military officials or farmers or people who are managing agri-business companies and silos in particular, say that they are still very skeptical about whether this arrangement is going to work out. They say they very much want to, because it's very much in Ukraine's financial interests, as well as being, of course, in the interests of Ukraine's image and Ukraine wanting to make the world realize that it is trying to do its best to get grain to those countries that really need it. They all say that they don't trust the Russians, that the Russians have got such a long record of signing deals and then breaking them.
All right, Gulliver, so as you say, no movement as yet on those ships with grain on board in Odessa. I mean, in the meantime, there's a shelling of a prison in the separatist region of eastern Ukraine that's hitting the headlines. The attack then reportedly killing dozens of Ukrainian prisoners of war. What more can you tell us?
Yes, and these are prisoners of war who came out of Azovstal, who held out for so long in that factory in Mariupol and were finally released into Russian custody when they surrendered. They're hugely important figures for Ukraine. The country is very much lobbying and hoping to get them released in a prisoner swap. But what Ukrainian officials have been saying for weeks, officials and also families of those detainees, is that the Ukrainian side does not have any information about their condition, about where they're being kept. So now we have this strike which reportedly killed dozens of them, which the Russians are blaming on the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are blaming on the Russians. And one hypothesis that is being advanced by Ukrainian commentators is that the Russians had actually already killed a significant number of these detainees, perhaps unintentionally, whilst torturing them in custody. And perhaps this strike was in order to cover up the fact that some of them were already dead. But I repeat, that's just a hypothesis. It's very, very hard to know what exactly happened. But the Ukrainian side are certainly denying with very great emphasis being behind this strike that the Russians are blaming them for.